During the month of Iyar, we count Sfirat HaOmer. Between Pesach and Shavuot, Iyar is in the middle and immersed in the counting. And in the midst of the month of Iyar, we have Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the Omer, the day in which the 12,000 pairs of students of Rabbi Akiva stopped dying, and the day of the revelation of the mystical teachings of the Torah of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, a disciple and spiritual heir to Rabbi Akiva. So what is the power of Rabbi Akiva that we're thinking about these days? He lived through the complete destruction of everything he had built. His students dying was an obvious end to Rabbi Akiva's rise and fall as a Torah scholar, and yet he persevered. He saw potential for greater good. Rabbi Akiva is forever the optimist. A month ago, we sat around the Pesach table and read the Haggadah, and in discussing the 10 plagues, the Makot that were in Mitzrayim, and the Makot, the plagues that were on the sea, there's a discussion. Rabbi Yossi HaGlili says, no, the miracles, let's expand them. In Egypt, there were 10, but at the sea, there were 50. Rabbi Eliezer says, okay, no, maybe there were 40 in Mitzrayim and 200 at the sea. Then Rabbi Akiva expands even further. And if you remember, he says there were 50 plagues in Egypt and 250 miracles at the sea. More than a mathematical exercise, Rabbi Akiva teaches us about divine involvement in our lives. That section leads into the Dayenu, the song of saying, there is reason to thank you, Hashem, every step of the way. Redemption is more than meets the eye, and it is not as limited as we might think. This is a very special ability to see a broader picture, to eke out more and more divine miracles, to have a heightened sense of God's proverbial hand. This is the strength of Rabbi Akiva. Earlier in the Haggadah, at the beginning of Magid, we also talked about Rabbi Akiva. They were rabbis sitting in Bnei Brak, where they spent the whole Seder night recounting the story of the Exodus until their pupils came and said, it's time for the morning Shema. Why were they in Bnei Brak? They were at the home of Rabbi Akiva, because he is the teacher of optimism, of positive thinking. Rabbi Akiva is the guide in seeing God's hand in the entire story of Pesach. Just as the apparent miracles in the Exodus story will broaden the most under Rabbi Akiva's guidance, so too, his positive thinking will help us to see God's hand even in our trying times. And Rabbi Akiva lived through very trying times. He lived through the Roman oppression, the failed Bar Kokhba revolt, the demise of all of his students, the destruction of the second Beit HaMikdash, right? Somehow he consistently manages to see beyond the current situation. He does not give up. In the Gemara in Makot 24b, we know he sees the foxes at the site of the temple ruins, and he tears kriya, a sign of mourning, along with all of his colleagues. He acknowledges the trauma, the pain, and the loss, and he also laughs. Unbelievably, he manages to see beyond the current tragedy and look towards the future with optimism. He observes the symbols of destruction and sees not just the end of what was, but also the greater picture, the divine prophecy of the good that is still to come. Just as he experienced the unbelievable loss of 12,000 pairs of students and didn't give up, he continues to build. He finds a handful of new students, including Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, whose Torah teachings we celebrate on Lag BaOmer in the month of Iyar. We all face suffering and a personal loss, and as a nation, we're struggling with brokenness, shattered dreams, and so much loss and pain. The collective challenge of war, of hatred and injustice is sometimes too much to bear. And I think thinking about Rabbi Akiva's teaching now can give us a little bit of strength. He has an ability to believe in the unseen, to live as if the redemption is not only possible, but is already beginning. The future redemption of Am Yisrael that we are to see in our days is a continuation of the past salvation from Egypt, which we just commemorated a few weeks ago over Pesach. Rabbi Akiva refused to see suffering as the end of the story. And hopefully we can learn from his perspective. We can find hope in the ashes. I wonder what gave Akiva ben Yosef a poor illiterate shepherd the strength to believe in new beginnings. His wife Rachel, the daughter of Kalba Savua, saw in him more than he saw in himself. She saw what he could become. She gave up her life of wealth and encouraged him to learn the alphabet at the age of 40. She is the quiet heroine behind Rabbi Akiva's constant hope. Perhaps through her, Akiva learned that a shepherd can become a sage, that there is greatness hidden in plain sight, and that every story can have a new chapter. Through Rachel's eyes, Rabbi Akiva understood that a new beginning and the next stage in redemption are around the corner. When he told his students, what is mine and what is yours is hers about his wife, perhaps Rabbi Akiva was saying far beyond her merit in sending him off to learn, it was his legacy as the eternal teacher of hope and optimism, which belongs to Rachel. She was the one who ignited such a perspective in the first place. It was his wife who first saw the future greatness in him when others only saw what was lacking. The positive rabbi of Bnei Brak, Rabbi Akiva, who brings light in times of darkness and sees God's greatness in the miracles and in the destruction. Perhaps he learned how to do so from his beloved wife. His aptitude for seeing the greatness in God's hands performing in the miracles of Egypt, the opportunity for a new start to teach new students when thousands had perished, his ability to laugh even while mourning destruction is what makes Rabbi Akiva such a special persona to emulate, specifically now, in these challenging times. May Rachel, the wife of Rabbi Akiva, give strength to the wives of all of our Miluimnikim, all those going back to war. They're sending their husbands to protect Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael while they protect the home front. If we ask ourselves, how do we live in a world with suffering and destruction? I believe Rabbi Akiva and his wife Rachel answer together in unison, and they say, with resilience, with unrelenting faith in the good that is unfolding, and the strength to begin again.